Before creation had found its name, before the first star bled light into the abyss, there was Knull. He was not merely a god, he was the god who existed in the void before all others, the one who looked upon the intrusion of light and deemed it an offense. He carried within himself an eternal grievance, a hatred that was not emotional but fundamental, the refusal of darkness to ever cede to light. In his hands he shaped the all-black, the blade that would drink divinity itself, and with it he slew a celestial and declared war upon creation. Wherever existence dared to sprout, Knull would bring the abyss to consume it. His symbiotes were not merely soldiers but extensions of his own will, a hive of corruption that spread across galaxies, breaking heroes and gods alike, twisting them into servants of the void. Knull was not simply strong, he was ideology given flesh, the argument that all things eventually dissolve into silence, and thus, he claimed, resistance was vanity. And then light years away, on a small blue planet, there lived a man whose entire life was the antithesis of Knull's grim proclamation. He was bald, unassuming, casually dressed in a hero's costume that looked more like a joke than a uniform, and he held no prestige in the eyes of the cosmos. His name was Saitama. He lived in an apartment cluttered with groceries, video games, and boredom. He trained once in his past, performed an absurdly simple routine, and in so doing, unlocked power so incomprehensible that he no longer knew struggle. The punch he threw, no matter against whom or what, carried the inevitability of finality. Yet this gift was a curse, for he found no joy in victory. Conflict, to Saitama, had lost meaning. Where Knull was darkness shaped into wrath, Saitama was comedy shaped into apathy, the cruel mirror of a man so powerful that challenge ceased to exist. The stage for their clash was written not by accident, but by philosophy itself. Knull, spreading his abyss across galaxies, sought to smother Earth as he had countless worlds. To him, the planet was insignificant, a speck to be claimed for his symbiote dominion. Yet he felt something strange when his awareness brushed against Saitama's existence, an anomaly. Unlike other beings whose souls bent beneath the weight of his corruption, Saitama's spirit was bland, unyielding, utterly disinterested. Knull's darkness found nothing to grip. It was like trying to swallow emptiness itself. To Knull, this was not only irritating, it was heretical. Every being, in his view, could be unmade, subjugated, or twisted. But this man, he was a void unto himself, not a void of shadow, but a void of narrative expectation. He did not fit the grand cosmic play. He was not awestruck, not terrified, not tempted, and so the debate began before fists ever flew. Knull descended upon Earth, his vast form cloaked in writhing symbiote darkness, the Necrosword glistening with the hunger of slain gods. He looked upon Saitama with disdain, speaking not in words but in truths woven into the air. All things break, all things end. Even stars perish, even gods kneel, even eternity folds into silence. You are not exempt. Your apathy will shatter, your body will kneel, your existence will dissolve as surely as all others. Saitama scratched his bald head, looking unimpressed. That's cool and all, but I just came here because I thought you'd be strong. You're making a lot of speeches though, kinda boring. The words seemed like parody, but they were a challenge more profound than any blade. For Saitama did not believe in inevitability of the void, nor the triumph of light. He believed in nothing at all, and in that nothingness lay his invincibility. Where Knull thrived on corruption of purpose, Saitama's lack of purpose made him incorruptible. Where Knull embodied the end of all stories, Saitama was the punchline that refused to allow stories to end any other way. This was the paradox. Knull claimed that entropy swallows all, but Saitama was built upon the meta-law of fiction itself, where escalation always collapses under the absurd weight of his power. He was, in his own way, a god of inevitability too, not the inevitability of anticlimax. And in that contest of philosophies, one had to ask, which inevitability reigns supreme? Can death consume satire, or does satire trivialize death? Thus the battlefield was not merely physical but existential. To Knull, victory meant proving that even parody can be broken by the seriousness of annihilation. To Saitama, victory meant nothing more than throwing a punch and being done with it. Yet that nothingness was its own profound answer, a mockery of cosmic dread. It said that no matter how vast the abyss, sometimes all it takes is a bald man in a cape to reduce it to a joke. And so the armies of the abyss began to stir. The earth itself quaked beneath the descent of Knull's infinite darkness, and the man who was bored with all battles simply clenched his fist, ready once more to see if perhaps this time something might actually be fun. The sky broke open as Knull's darkness blanketed the earth. Cities fell beneath the writhing tide of symbiotes, skyscrapers smothered in black, oceans swallowed whole. Humanity's defenders, mighty as they were, could barely hold the line against the tide, for Knull himself descended like a wound in reality, his crimson eyes burning with cosmic hatred. His voice echoed through every mind, promising silence, promising eternal night. Yet amid this apocalyptic vision, one man stood still on a ruined street, cape fluttering faintly in the corrupted wind. Saitama yawned. Knull approached, his form towering, his blade humming with the resonance of gods long slain. The Necrosword pulsed, a weapon designed to undo eternity, its mere presence capable of sundering the fabric of reality. With a single slash, he split the air, carving through dimensions themselves. Buildings behind Saitama crumbled into non-existence, swallowed by the strike. But Saitama stepped aside casually, the slash missing him, as though inevitability itself refused to touch him. You mock the abyss by standing, Knull intoned. You mock death itself, but death is all there is. Every victory you claim is temporary, every punch you throw a joke against the tide. I am the truth behind the stars, the silence beneath creation. I am not your enemy, I am the only end that exists. Saitama glanced at him blankly. Yeah, but I don't really care. You're in my way, so guess I'll punch you. Knull moved first, darkness erupting around him in tendrils sharper than steel, faster than lightning, vast enough to snare planets. They struck from every angle, each one carrying the corruption of the void, capable of infecting gods and rewriting their will. They struck Saitama and snapped harmlessly against his skin, breaking like twigs. The corruption flowed into him, but it found nothing to grip. His mind was too dull, too uninterested to be rewritten. Knull felt a ripple of unease. Then Saitama was gone. To the human eye, he vanished, but in truth, he simply moved faster than thought. He reappeared before Knull and tapped him lightly in the chest. The shockwave alone tore through the abyssal sky, clearing continents of symbiote infection in an instant. Knull staggered, not because of pain he had endured celestials, but because the blow carried something else, irreverence. It was as if the punch mocked his very purpose. Knull roared, summoning the full depth of his abyss. He grew, his body expanding until he loomed like a living black hole, his form stretching across the heavens. The Necrosword became a storm of annihilation, cleaving through realities, tearing moons from orbit, sundering stars in distant systems. He swung it down upon Saitama with the force to erase pantheons. Saitama caught the blade with one hand. Metal that had killed gods, that could shear eternity, stopped dead in his grip. He blinked, looking almost disappointed. "That's it," he muttered. Then he clenched his fist, and in that moment the world held its breath. The punch that followed was not merely physical, it was narrative. It was the assertion of parody over dread, of simplicity over cosmic terror. It struck Knull through the chest, not simply shattering his form, but undoing the ideology that held him together. The abyss screamed as though mocking itself, the symbiote hive unraveling into nothing, the Necrosword splintering into dust. Knull, god of the void, felt something he had never felt before, irrelevance. As his vast form collapsed, dissolving into fragments of shadow, his voice lingered weakly in the air. "You cannot deny the end." Saitama brushed off his gloves. "Yeah, but I can make it really boring." The void dispersed. The symbiotes melted. The earth was free, light bleeding back into the sky. Knull was gone, not simply defeated but trivialized, reduced to a punchline by a man whose greatest power was that he never cared enough to lose. And in the silence that followed, Saitama looked around at the ruined city, sighed and muttered, "Guess that's another one punch. Still boring." He turned, cape fluttering behind him, already searching for groceries on the way home, and thus the god of the abyss fell, not to light, not to divinity, not to cosmic will, but to the absurd inevitability of a joke too strong to ever be undone.